see a disease that attacks, the lungs, your breathing, cancer, obesity, diabetes, liver disease, kidney disease. Those are the things that make you the most vulnerable. If we want to lose less people, if we want to be more successful in the future with a virus just like this, we got to get in shape. All the measures that we are taking are sit at home and do nothing, and encouraging us to get in worse shape. Addiction problems, divorce problems, mental health issues, they're all piling up, and I think being physically active and getting ourselves in shape is what's going to bring us back out of this. I have fears about the virus itself, but guess what? Somebody's got to get up and do the work that day. So I'm going to be one of those people. I'm going to get up and if it affects me and if it affects my family, I'm going to fight through it.
We've gone above and beyond. In fact, we've bent over for the teachers and the staff to make these buildings safe. All the way down to we're only going to have 25% capacity. We have the parents going nuts, the staff going nuts. Direct your questions to the union president. He's the only one that can get us past this. Because I talk about equity. What kind of equity is there in an online education? When a kid's sitting at home in a building that is much worse off than our schools are right now. Anybody ever been in some of the worst houses in the city? I have. I don't want to have you can't find a place that do remote learning in half the places that some of our kids live. Talk about equity.
I mean, we keep hearing over and over that not until it's safe or not at this time. This is a bad time, and I'm wondering when it is actually going to be the time. And I still have not gotten a good answer for how remote education is servicing the poorest kids in the city. Under 55 years of age, you're more likely to commit suicide than die of COVID.
The only inequities that are going on right now are the fact that we're not providing every kid with an in-person education. We're not serving poorest kids in this city. That's what it comes down to. All the gaps that we want to talk about when COVID isn't a thing are getting bigger right now. They're getting bigger. I'm certainly not against teachers, but I'm against the direction that the UTL is moving currently. I have not said anything about teachers are not working hard. I get that they're working hard. Of course they are. We're all working hard right now. And I'm not questioning the job that they're doing at remote learning. It's the fact that they're doing remote learning. And they're not in the building. They weren't in the building in September when the numbers were 0, and they're still not in the building. They need new leadership. They're being, where are all the other unions sticking up for the teachers union? I don't see it happening right now. I'm not calling out teachers and saying that they're not working hard enough. They're working too hard. They're doing remote. We should be in the buildings. That's what it's all about. I'm not bashing teachers. Don't listen then if you can't listen to what I'm saying. If you can't take the truth.
Thank you.
No, none of us signed up for anything that's going on right now. But work needs to get done, and we need to take care of our kids. Remote learning is not working, and we need to transition back into the buildings as soon as we can. We're talking about, if we push this off anymore, we might as well just give up for the year. I think there's a large percentage of the 3% parents that want their kids in the building, need their kids in the building. They've needed it for the last 10 months. We're holding them accountable for our community numbers, and I disagree with it big time.
You say yes, sure, I guess.
Ms. Doherty? Yes. 7 yeas approved.
Ask them. Don't ask me. Ask them. I see Mr. Dolan shaking his head as though that doesn't exist.
You're out of your mind.
True.
All the kids want and need is to be back and be part of something. And I'm beside myself that nobody else can stand here and say, we're going overboard. Because it's all driven by this fear and hysteria and fear of the mob. that you're going to be called a baby killer, or you're going to kill grandma. And, you know, and I guess next Monday is when it's going to be really bad, because it's this, you know, random date that we're just setting for mass. Like, next meeting, we're going to have masks on in here. What happens if I don't? Fear. Well, if we want to do what's best for our kids, we should get them in shape. The virus attacks and makes vulnerable people who are not in good physical condition. I think we're full of it. About it. And I think we need to get some guts. We need more people around here with some guts to be able to speak the way that they actually think. You know, this is a virus, and it's a respiratory virus. I don't know if we think that there is going to be some day when we get to a point where it's just gone and nobody's going to get it. You're all going to get it. Your information was right. We don't know anything about this thing, for sure. Can anybody tell me if somebody who has the vaccine is more or less vulnerable to the disease than somebody who has already had it and has natural immunity? No. Everything that we're doing here is a show with all this mask mandate stuff. And now all of a sudden this mandate comes through and everybody's masking up and, you know, even asking to go back to some of the rules that we had before. I mean, just absolute insanity. Those are the only statistics that matter. Hospitalization and death. That's hard for people to think about. But cases? Everybody's going to get this virus, whether you like it or not. This doesn't affect kids. Not nearly as much as the regular flu or any other flu strain that's come through. We've never talked about masking in the past. It's never once come up. What are we doing? Makes zero sense. The numbers haven't changed. 99.999, whatever, you know, for kids. Anybody that we have to be concerned about within our buildings. Teachers have been offered the vaccination. If they want it, that's great. It might help them with symptoms. Kids are not in danger. And there's no reason that we should have any kid out of the building at this point. For any reason, except serious illness. And the kids don't get seriously ill from this. It's nuts. There's absolutely no guts here. It's sad, and I can't believe, I mean, we were talking about putting plastic covers on kids' faces tonight, and nobody realizes it yet. Particularly around physical activity. How can we honestly say that we're doing what's best for kids if we're not going to allow them to exercise indoors unless they have a mask on their face? It's absurd. It takes a large amount of authority to instill a mandate like this on an entire population. And it is a scary thought that we're trying to do that. It takes an incredible amount of authority. It's tyrannical.
But you're putting other people at risk. You're putting your grandparents at risk.
Jackie.
Or anybody that has
Don't look at me and tell me that I am putting my
I'm talking
grandparents at risk. That's
doctors
such a
don't
selfish-
agree
That
with
is
you.
such
There
a
are
weak
doctors
way to
that
think.
say, I think my
Such a
doctors
weak
are
way to
telling me
think.
you're better off vaccinated.
And mine's telling me
Good
not
for you.
to.